Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. Hope everyone is doing well. Thanks for being here. It's Thursday, my noon. I figured I'd get a live stream going, a little bit of an impromptu live stream, but I'm going to call it a week early this week. Stock market's closed tomorrow, so I might as well just take the day off completely. Going to relax with some family and just enjoy the great outdoors. Beautiful weather here in Arizona. It's starting to get a little warm now, but going to enjoy the day, going to take the day off. After this, I'm going to grab some lunch and call it a day, but I figured why not get a quick live stream in, a video update, talk with my crypto peeps. And so welcome. Thanks for being here, guys. As always, appreciate you guys. Appreciate the support, the longtime listeners or viewers, however you want to call it. But so what we're going to do today, I'm just going to quickly cover some of the charts, the main charts that I'm looking at right now. Quick recap on the week, some key levels to be watching as we head into the weekend over the next few days, and some news items, and just kind of a little bit of a casual stream today. Not anything crazy. Won't make it too long for you guys. And so thanks for being here. If you're working, if you're chilling, if you're at home, if you're driving, whatever you're doing, let's get to it. So let's look at the coin market cap first before we get into some of the charts here, and then we will get to it. So looking at the coin market cap, there's been some movement, but the last few days have been relatively mild up until maybe today, really. The last couple of days before that, coming into the new start of the week, just kind of a lower momentum environment. Yeah, there was a few names always moving. There's always something popping, but for the most part, things are just kind of taking a breather. It's kind of one of those environments you don't necessarily want to overtrade in, but there's certainly some green across the board here, especially here today as things are starting to pick up a little bit of steam. And ETH is really on the radar now. We'll look at a few charts that I'm watching, some trades that I'm taking here, but it's kind of good to see Bitcoin just taking a breather and pausing and holding up above that 5K psychological number. That's very good news for the bulls. The fact that we're still maintaining that 5K price point, very positive. Could have just as easily pulled back further, reset some of the technicals. The fact that it just sat tight here at the highs is very good news all around. So those are the main things there. Looking at the overall picture for the market cap, approaching that major point in the line. Again, just kind of was a big number here late last year before it broke down, that $200 billion market cap level. And here we are starting to edge back up there again here, bumping into the high, 180, 185 range. So we'll see how things go as they approach that. But, have we turned the corner? Is this the bottom? Are we going to just start to chop around here in this upper half of the 100 billion range before we finally blast through? No doubt this is going to be a big wall. That was a big support level that gave way, and prices approaching that are going to certainly be met with some resistance. If Bitcoin approaches 6K in and around that level, will certainly be a battle to be seen, but good to see that we're bouncing and we're testing this level again. But all in all, things are just drifting higher. Volumes are coming back in, which is good news all around for the space, for trading. And so good stuff. Now, looking at some news, of course, the big news earlier this week, Bitcoin Cash SV delistings all over the place, started with Binance and just continues to snowball as more and more exchanges have jumped on the bandwagon. And, let me be clear by saying, Craig Wright, you're a fraud. And yes, you're not Satoshi. We know that. And of course, he annoys me just as much as he annoys everybody else. But at the same time, it's kind of one of those like, CZ really has a lot of power in this quote unquote decentralized industry for him to kick off this, domino effect of, hey, I'm going to delist you if you don't settle down. And sure enough, he delists them. And, I'm not sure what you guys think about that. I mean, at the same time, right, like if SV was its own independent blockchain, would it have been listed on Binance in the first place? Probably not, right? But still, it's just kind of an interesting point to see how far we've come here, where there's a handful of players in our industry, CZ included, that really do wield a lot of power and influence in this space. And so very interesting news, very interesting dilemma here this week. But I made a nice little profit on that pop here, and I'm trying to see if it gets another leg up, so we'll take a look at that one. And then this one, kind of a random, the crypto movie, which I have not seen. If you've seen it, please tell me how bad it sucks, because it looks really bad in the previews. But I'm thinking I might check it out just for kicks to see how rough it really is. But from looking at the previews, you know, like the whole hacking and the crime and the action scene and the guns and all that, I'm like, yeah, okay, that's crypto. That's it. That's what it's all about, right? Crypto is just all about illegal activity and money laundering and drugs and dark nets, right? And so that's what people get the impression. And it's funny when you see these movies, right? They're just so sensationalized, Hollywood drama. Probably has nothing to do with crypto at all. But it kind of reminds me of like the stock market movies, right? You look at the stock market movies and they're just so dramatized and sensationalized and stock trading. And you know, the reality is it's like, okay, most day in, day out, it's just kind of the grind, the hard work. You bust out a profit, and it's not like the high flying every day, you know. But hey, that's Hollywood, that's movies, that's what we like as entertainment. And so kind of just funny to see that. But I don't know, I haven't seen this. Maybe I'll check it out here if I have a little extra time over the weekend. So that's going to be it for the news items here. Before we get to the charts, quick reminder, and this is kind of based off of a question that I got on Twitter, and it was a good question. Someone was asking, you know, what's the difference between the video course that's available on nodeinvestor.com and the video series that is available if you are subscribing to the Node Insiders alert system? And the short answer is they are the same exact videos. The difference is in how you purchase and how you access them. So if you're a subscriber to the Node Insiders alerts and the watch list and the analysis that I put out there, you get an access to these videos as a bonus for subscribing. So as long as you are a subscriber, you have full access to these videos. You can watch them as much as you want. However, if you purchase them here, you can access them permanently, watch them, stream them through my site as much as you want, as long as you want. You don't ever lose access. That's really the only difference. They're basically the same videos. And so I hope that helps clarify there. All right, let's get to it. So looking at the charts here, BTC first, and then I'll start answering some of the questions on Bitcoin Cash, Binance, and some of these other names we're looking at here. But looking at BTC first, let me zoom out. I'm going to go to the daily chart because it's real important to kind of set the tone here. A couple of things that I look at. Most importantly, whenever you're looking at charts and the time frames and all that, the higher time frames always carry the most weight, right? They're kind of the tide, if you will. The lower time frames, you know, these are the waves, and the very small time frames, right? The 30 minutes, the 5 minute, that's the ripples within the tide. And the tide is really the most important thing. And clearly, it doesn't take a lot of analysis to say the trend is up. I mean, simple as that. And there's a couple of ways to look at it. We're making higher highs and higher lows. The moving averages continue to point in the right direction. The short-term moving average is on top of a longer-term moving average, and things are just moving upward. And that's very good news. The fact that we had an opportunity to really start selling off right here and just never did. I mean, it pulled back. It did undercut this moving average several times, but was not able to close below it. That's the 10 EMA on the daily chart there that I have marked up. Now, that's important because it just goes to show the strength of the buyers there. The buyers are stepping in and supporting price every time it begins to dip. And right now, that's essentially 5K, right? That's the psychological number, which was support. Now, again, we did undercut. If you look at the lower time frames, there were some quick dips below, but they didn't last. And on a closing basis, which for me is the most important thing on the daily chart, on a closing basis, the price stayed above that. And one day closed below the 10 EMA, but still was above 5K and has continued to move higher here and starting to edge up here in the last few days, which is good. So if we zoom in, look at the 4-hour chart now, the first level of resistance that we were looking at here as we entered the week was basically this 5170, 5180, however you want to call it. And there was a couple of reasons this was resistance. One, it was support back here. And then you had this big candle that broke down and really sliced below that level and was unable to get back above here a couple of times. And then we saw another big sell-off as we came into the week, looked like a little bit of a bear flag bounce, and then boom, blasted right through it, recovered, volume kicked in as it pushed right back above, and has since, over the last few days, been holding above, consolidating as these moving averages are now catching up. And so, I was looking here, I was trading short. Here I took a little short. I was actually taking another short here on ETH on the bear flag and got stopped out. At this point, I'm no longer looking at the short side. I mean, that was kind of day trades. They were quick trades. I was thinking maybe we had a chance of looking at 4,800. Didn't even get that far, which, I'll take that. That's just fine with me because I'd rather see a strong crypto market than not. And so 5K still is that key level if prices do roll over from here. But really what I'm looking for now is a retest of that upper 5,300, more like 5,400 level is going to really be the first test on the way up. On a closing basis on this 4-hour chart, that's basically 5,400 even. And of course, you got the wick way at the top here, which puts you more like 5,490. And so that little range there is going to be your next resistance level to be watching on the way up. And that's really the level I'm watching over the next couple of days as we head into the weekend. If prices continue to grind higher, and I do expect we'll see some more momentum to the upside, how do they begin to act as they get to 5,400? What we don't want to see is a little bit of a double top hype action, some exhaustion moves, big wicks, and then a quick reversal. That would look pretty bearish at that point. You'd start to see maybe a little bit of a double top forming. Not the end of the world until it actually breaks and confirms by moving below 5K, but again, would not be the most positive thing to be looking at. And, an alternate scenario would be we just start to chop around in this level here for a while. And that would also be good, as that would set up the daily chart for a break above this most recent high, and then ultimately potentially testing that 6K level again. And that's really what I'm looking for. I'd like to see this thing run up here, maybe pause, pull back a little bit, hold above the level that it's at today, kind of chop around, and then set up a breakout, which would be a retest of that level there. So that's what I'm looking for here over the next, at that point, you're talking the next week or two at least, right? I'm not saying like this weekend, but that's what I'm looking for here on the upside. So all in all, can't complain with the action. Again, it's been a slower week from a momentum perspective, not a lot of action on the BTC side, but things are moving in the right direction since breaking above that 5,200 level resistance here a few days ago. So good stuff on the BTC side. Not much to look at from that perspective here. We'll go to some of these other names that I'm watching. Bitcoin Cash first, because I want to cover that one. I'm going to look at it from the USD side on Binance. Again, on Coinbase. This is the equivalent of Bitcoin Cash ABC on Binance. Let me turn all my alerts off here so we don't start seeing things coming across while we're doing this. And so there's a couple of things that I was watching here. This is the bigger picture chart going back to the beginning of April. Had that monster move off the low once Bitcoin broke out, and then just really started consolidating over the last couple of weeks. And then here over the weekend, last weekend, started seeing some positive action. The volume started coming in. Maybe it was a little bit of front running to the delisting news, but nonetheless, the charts were telling me this wanted to go higher. And so I jumped in as it started to clear this line, pulled back a little bit, and then had that quick pop into Monday as the news broke that Bitcoin Cash SV was going to be delisted, and that benefited ABC. So sold into this little pump here. It was a nice quick 10%. And generally 10% is not a big move, but the fact that this position, for me at least, was a very large position relative to most of my other ones. It was pretty heavy. So that 10% added up. And so I started to scale out, took the profits. When it dipped back, I reloaded here, and I've just been sitting on it since then. So I'm kind of losing patience, to be honest with you. I'm like, should have broke out by now and shown some more follow through to the upside. What I was looking for is a little bit of a bull flag to form on this here, and then a breakout to at least retest this most recent high, which was 350. And then above that, maybe get to 400, right? And so that's what I was looking for. And it's still holding up technically, but it's starting to take a little while now. It's starting to lag. So 300 is kind of my number. If it starts to lose 300 at that point, I'm just going to call it done, get out of the way, and go look for something else. So that's what I'm looking at. But I'm going to be a little bit patient with it, a little bit, maybe another day or two, see how it does. And I'm still looking for some potential second leg up here on Bitcoin Cash ABC equivalent, if that's what we want to call it there. So versus BTC, it's also lagging just with this little bit of a drift that it's seen here today. So BCH, ABC on Binance. You can see, let me pull this up here. One sec. Here we go. I'll clear these guys for you real quick. Similar type of structure, right? You had that break of the trend line, a big pop, and just since then has been just drifting lower. And it's now trading below some key moving averages here on the 4-hour chart. So again, not looking too hot anymore. It's right at the breakout point. So we'll see if it can bounce from here. But if it doesn't get moving soon here, I'm going to cut her loose. At this point, this current trade that I'm in, it's basically a break-even trade. Not even that. I'm still in the green just because I caught this big move up and just reloaded here near the low. So not that big of a deal either way. Another one that I was looking at here, ETH. Watch this one here, guys. Ethereum moving nicely. I pointed this one out here in the last video, talking about how on the daily chart, it's been forming a big picture symmetrical pattern. Let me zoom that out, right? And watching this trend line. And then here in the last few weeks, just kind of maybe forming a double bottom. And at the time, it was still pulling in. But here in the last day, we're starting to see that support level hold. And now it's really starting to take shape and potentially looking like that double bottom may start to play out. Prices starting to move higher. I'd like to see a little bit more volume come in, but it's looking positive. The fact that it's bouncing off of this support level again on the BTC pair, pushing higher. It's going to bump into this resistance here around that 3,400, but getting above that is going to be very good. And then ultimately, it's got to clear this downtrend line. But I'm looking at it here to start putting some initial positions in place and seeing how we can zoom up here on the 1-hour view. Big push yesterday, a little bit of a bull flag, and then starting to push higher today. In the short term, again, 1-hour view, it is feeling a little extended. I'm not going to chase it here. You can see there's a slight divergence starting to show up here on the MACD. And so I'm betting you'll see a little bit of a retracement, a little bit of a pullback, or at least some sideways action, maybe a pause. And that may be the opportunity to start scaling in a position there. But again, until it's above that resistance level here on the BTC pair, it's still considered a higher risk trade for me, just because it's a reversal play for one. You're not necessarily trading with the trend. You're banking on a reversal of a trend. And two, you're still below a significant resistance level. So there's going to be a lot of resistance on the way up that really needs to clear before it's kind of a confirmed move up. But, I'm willing to give it a little bit of a shot here to get an early entry, and then may start to add to it if it starts holding above these levels. Because at that point, we may see a little bit bigger of a move if it starts to clear this broader downtrend that it's really been fighting here. So, a couple levels to watch here. From first, got to clear that level. If it holds, then can it get above the trend line? And then from there, we'll see where it can go. So I'm liking that. If Ethereum, of course, that's a big if Ethereum can get going versus BTC, that may put a little bit more confidence into some of these larger cap names. The overall altcoin space may start to see some rotation back in again. And so that may be something to be watching here. So again, volume's got to come in. I really want to see some more volume, but looking pretty good there. Now looking at it from the USD side. This one's looking really good. And this last little consolidation here that we've seen looks just like a throwback, basically a throwback after the breakout from this ascending triangle base. So you had the breakout point here, had a little bit of push higher, pulled right back in. And look, let me zoom in here. Notice where it landed. It never broke below the 22 EMA. I mean, it wicked below, but it never broke below. It's been closing. Now it's back above the 10 EMA. Let me clear this box here. Held the breakout point here. You can move that up if you want to use the closing bases there. Held the breakout point around that 157 level, and just classic action there. So good to see. Now this is a must-hold level, right? Now that it's tested that 157, that's got to hold. Now you got to see some follow through to the upside. But next target on the upside is 200 psychological number. And then above that, I'm looking around 218 as the next target to the upside. And if it gets going on the BTC pair and start to really move there, then you could certainly see some action here on the USD side. So definitely one to watch here. I'm liking the way it's shaping up here. It's been setting up for a long time, right? This is a multi-month base in the making that's finally breaking out. And we could start to see a little bit of momentum here over the next few weeks. And so definitely on the top of my list here. I've been watching it for a long time, just waiting for it patiently. Took a few shots at it, but now it's looking like it might be ready. So definitely keep an eye on ETH here over the next month or two. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Bat's been strong here this week, some good relative strength. I've taken a couple of trades on that, did book some gains here earlier today. Looks like it's pulling in a little bit, so that was good. But I'm thinking we see a little bit of a higher low and then another run higher on the BTC pair. Next level up around that 71, 7200 level, and then 74, which is the most recent highs back here that it double topped at. And generally, you see some front running into that. People will start to book gains before it gets the resistance, so you may get a pullback. 6,900 was my first target here, and that was just based on these most recent highs. This one right here, right? And kind of a round number, so you can see that that's proven to be a little resistance right now. So you're seeing some profit taking after breaking out yesterday. A nice quick, what was that, 8% on the upside, about 7.5% after the breakout. And so not too bad. We'll see how it does on the pullback. On the pullback, first target's going to be basically this 22 EMA. At most, maybe about halfway down is what you want to see. If it fully retraces to the breakout point, I'm not sure that'd be a very strong picture, especially after seeing such a strong leg up. So something to be watching there, but still, a good move this week. And really the best entry, which I missed, by the way, was back here. And, this one was on the radar last week. It was showing up on the alerts, and I was like, hey, Bat's showing a lot of relative strength here over the last couple of days. And then it started to consolidate and pull back. And this was really the best entry point right here. When it ended this consolidation, it had two broader legs down. You can see it put in a little bit of a support down in here. And when it finally broke above that trend line, look at the volume that came in. That was really the first signal that said this may be done, ready to go. And then it confirmed on the next candle. And so this little window here, right, that was kind of your best buy point for a good trade up to at least a swing high, which was the prior high. And of course, it pulled back from there. And then, of course, the next trade was a breakout trade to the next level up, right? And so that's what I'm looking at there. But all in all, Bat was good. It's been a strong name this week. Feels a little exhausted here in the short run. We'll see if it can consolidate here near the highs and then set up for another leg higher in the next day or two. All right, let's see here. Monero. There's one I'm liking here as well. Let me zoom out to the 4-hour view. And so first thing is you can see it's finding a little bit of support here on the BTC pair. We'll look at the USD pair here shortly. And it is choppy. This name definitely has a lot more volatility, but I'm watching this downtrend and it's starting to flatten out here. It did break above, when was that, 2 days ago? Slowly pulling right back to the line. I thought, it's not going to play out well. And then here today, it's kind of bouncing back above. Some volume starting to come back in. So it's looking like it's holding there. So I'm liking it. I think it's worth taking a shot. So I did take a position on this one here. We'll see where it goes. First target's going to really just be going to get to the swing high. And then above that, there's some older resistance in the back here. So I'm looking, 15.6 to maybe 1600. That little window there is going to be the next target. If it breaks above this most recent swing high here around 1450 or whatever is that first target. So one to keep an eye on here. On the USD side, go to, Bitfinex is fine. On the USD side, it's starting to really shape up, holding some support around 64. So 64 was kind of the lows there that continue to be bought up. Not quite breaking out yet, but a breakout above $72 on the USD side would be some confirmation. And then you can see a run up to around $82 or so. So a quick $10 move on this guy would be pretty nice here. So about 12-15% move to the upside if you can get that. Monero, what else did we say we were going to cover? I think that was it on my side. I'm trying to make this a relatively short stream. So Cardano, that was the last one on my list. And then we'll take a look at whatever names you guys want to see. So Cardano, and I'm more looking at it from the USD pair side. So ADA, USD, and of course, this was a monster mover in March, had that big run, and has since been consolidating it, and it needed it, right? I mean, it was pretty extended at that point. Still consolidating, looking good. If we go to the daily chart, notice it did run pretty close to this resistance right here. This was the last little top there. And then, of course, the next major level was up around 10.7. And that's really where it's paused. But one thing I want to note here, and I'm waiting on it. I'm not doing anything until it confirms. But one thing I'm liking here is it's pulling right back to these moving averages. It's letting the moving average catch up. So the 22 EMA is starting to catch up. Yes, it needs to break this downtrend first, and some volume's got to come in. Look at the volume on this pullback. It's been lower volume, which is generally positive. But, of course, it could just as easily slice right through support and give it up. I've seen that happen plenty of times, which is why I'm not going to front run this one and anticipate the breakout. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep an eye on it. I've got some alerts set on a daily basis. If it starts to close above this little bit of a resistance level here, that would clear the line, as well as this last week or so worth of price action. Getting above that may look much better, especially if volume comes in, and then I'll be looking for another run to the upside, a quick trade out of this bull flag. So definitely one I'm liking here. I'm not going to do anything with it until it confirms, but it's on my radar. Something to be watching here. BNB. Here, BNB dollar, it's never going down ever again. It looks like it's still pushing towards that long time target, which is the old prior highs. On a closing basis, all-time high was basically around 22.70, and then if you got the ultimate high with the wick up to $25, so it's in view. It's still marching along, and again, similar price action that we've seen here. Look at this, and if this is kind of, you're not really sure what I mean by this, look at the EMA pairs, right? Look at that gap between the pairs, the 22 EMA. On a closing basis, price never violated that. By definition, the trend is still in place, never lost a trend. And, so that this is kind of the stuff that you get in the course of how I use these, but it's still looking good. Still back above the 10 EMA, breaking out here today above this near-term consolidation here. 1970 really was the level, and pushing higher. So nice little move there. BNB just crazy strong. They're doing all the right things. I mean, I like the exchange. I like that. Now, I was talking about the BTC pair. I was a little bit more bearish on it until it got above this resistance, right? It had that little double top type of action, pulling back. Couldn't get back above this resistance. Today, it's finally clearing it, right? Look at the volume starting to come in here as it pushes through. And so nice move today, really confirming that was probably it. Of course, the USD pair is breaking out, and that's because Bitcoin is a little bit stronger here too, so it's looking that one. But hey, this one's looking good. Let's see if we can finally break above this most recent high at, what's that, 440 or so on the BTC pair. All right, cash money in the house. Can you explain why some are saying a close above 6,200 is full bull mode? Yeah, let's look at that. 6,200 was really kind of the exact number on the floor, just from a closing basis. But I don't know if I would. When it comes to we're in full bull mode, like, I'm not going to necessarily base it all off of one specific price point. I'm not going to just say once it gets above X number, that's it. We're in bull mode. And the reason 6,200 is probably the more accurate number versus not. If you look at, here's the line, right? This is 6,100. Now, 6,100 was the long time number that it held, right? There was a wick back here in July. I mean, almost to the penny. Here, it undercut a few times, but could not close below 6,100. Right here, 6,190. Right here, 6,150, right? So 6,100 was kind of that number. Now, if you look at the top of the impulse move, so if you're like doing a Fibonacci retracement or something, you always use the starting point of the impulse leg, and that's the top of this big red candle, right? The slice candle, the kill candle, if you will. And the top of that candle is 62.60, right? So that's kind of the start of the move, right? The failure below this 6,200, it was like 62.40 and 62.30, and then it finally dropped and just sliced right through 6,200, 6,100, 6K. We all remember that day. It was crazy. But, if I had to pick an exact number, my number would actually be higher, right? I'd say getting above this resistance, which is more like 65, 6,600, for me would look much stronger than getting above 6,200, right? So at the end of the day, tomato, it's all semantics, right? Like, is, will, when it's going to be the quote unquote back in full bull mode, right? It's going to be retrospective. And in any case, you can most likely see something where like finally crosses through and everyone goes, yay, bull mode, and maybe pulls back, makes a new higher low or something, right? And then goes again. Like, I don't know if it's going to necessarily be the hard line in the sand that once it gets above, we'll never get back below, very, very unlikely. That's just usually not the way things work. So hope that answers the question there. All right, let's see what else is going on here. Every coin's pulling back except for BNB. Yeah, the last couple of days, things have been quiet and slow. Most names are still really consolidating and just digesting their move from the last few days. So I'm not necessarily jumping at the gun for anything. Looking at the alerts here, of course, blue rating, the strongest rating you can get. That's because the daily rating is still high and the 4-hour has turned the corner. And so good. This remained bullish through that whole move. Let's see what's on the move here. ICX moving about a minute ago. Power pivot 17 minutes ago. We'll take a look at that. We know Augur was listed, so they got some action here. ETH, we already talked that. Cardano, Litecoin. Let's see what else we got here. I'm going to go to the watch list, see if there's anything that piques my interest. Let's see. ETH, Binance Coin. We know that. Let's see here. What else? BNB, Athland. Oh, let's go take a look at that one. Monero, Vibrate, AMB. Man, that was on a name I was trading a few weeks ago. Look at that name. VeChain. That's right. VeChain's got an event coming up. Let's go look at the VeChain chart. VeChain BTC first. Looking at the daily. It's still turning the corner here. Finally, it did hit my target. It took a long time to get there. I was trading this one from back here, and it was like the slow grind up. Finally hit the target. Got out of that guy. Fully retraced. Looks like it's bouncing back a little bit. We'll see if they can get going again. VeChain USD. Looking much better. Definitely trending higher. Just kind of clearing resistance after resistance. So that one's looking good. And of course, this is just tracking with BTC, right? If you look at the move, the big spike, the pullback, the recent rally higher. And so on a dollar basis, I mean, it's already come to the first target that I was looking at here, the major resistance here, 0.078. If we can break above that, then you don't have a lot of resistance up until about 996. So has some room to run if it can get going here. What else was on the list here? ICX. Let's look at that one real quick. ICX. Yeah, maybe turning the corner here. That's not a pretty looking chart. It finally lost support. So until it gets back above this level, I'm going to be much more cautious with it. So moving on. AMB. How's that guy looking? AMB. Yeah, I'm not liking it either. What else we got? Let's see. We already looked at ETH. We'll look at Litecoin. All right. Tezos, VeChain. Oh, the VeChain event's going on right now. Thank you. Which, I mean, I like the project. So you guys will have to let me know how it is because I don't plan on watching anything right now. I'm gonna get away from the screens once I'm done here. I was trading stocks all morning. It was kind of a quieter day. Still a pretty solid day for me. Green day. Actually, it was a really solid day for me. Just the moves weren't as big as I had hoped, but I can't complain. I was 5 for 5 today, which is unusual. Didn't get a single stop out, so that's nice. But nothing drastic, right? No monster moves to the upside just until we're in earnings seasons, but today seemed like a low momentum day. I think it's because of the holiday. Interesting here on this guy, coming up to some resistance back here that it faced at the end of March. See if it can break out here on the BTC pair. Ripple XRP, good one. I forgot about this one here. And this one continues to come on the radar. Yesterday was flashing alerts again. And it's funny because I think I posted the daily chart or this chart on the Slack group. And here was my last arrow. And I don't have it up in front of me, but I said something along the lines of, it's trying again. one of these days, eventually, those moves will work. But, I'm just, until it breaks this downtrend, like for me versus BTC, it's just lagging. I mean, yeah, it's back here at support. Maybe that's the move. It was coming across the alerts, but it's just, you can see it here time after time and time again. It gives you these flash in the pan moves, but it just drops. And I'm just not, until it turns the corner, I'm not interested. Now, that being said, it is looking like the selling momentum may be waning here. And what I mean by that is, let me do this here. This might be easier to see for you guys. All right, you're seeing price drop here in the last, this is the daily chart, by the way. So here in the last couple of weeks, right? And this low is making a new lower low right at the previous support level. So that's interesting. But RSI is not confirming with that new lower low. Now, this was kind of the quick washout momentum. You had a quick reaction up, and then it's making a new lower low. But RSI is starting to show some bullish divergences. And so maybe the selling momentum is slowing down. Doesn't necessarily mean it just rockets right back up, but, could be one to start keeping an eye on here. But again, until it can really start to show some better relative strength, I think there's just better things out there to be watching from a trading perspective. Let's see what else we got going on. I'll do a couple more, and then I will call it a stream. OMG. Let's go take a look at the OMG. Look at it from the BTC pair first. Interesting to see. Let me clear my old markups up here. You can tell we've looked at this one before. This little double top that it had definitely was the double top. It was pretty much straight down since then. Right back at some support. And it's interesting because, I haven't updated this chart in a few days at least, probably a week. And it's always interesting to see that, you drop a line on the chart back here and you come back to it a few days later. And look at, over the last 5 days, it's been bouncing around here. Not necessarily strong, though. The moving averages are still just kind of catching up. The 10 EMA is right here. And price is still living below the moving averages. The 10 is now below the 22. So, ideally what you'd like to see here is some sort of pop and then maybe a retest of the support and then get going. That'd be better. But until it can do that, going to remain cautious on this one here versus BTC. There's going to be some near-term resistance if it does rally. And that's going to be right here around that 400 Satoshi level. So that's the level to be watching on the way up. 400, 4,000, however you want to call it. OMG dollar. It is breaking the trend. Look at that clear trend break. Clear trend line break. It was nice, solid trend all the way up. Had that little bit of a blow off. And then just sliced back below and has not been able to get back above that trend line. So I'd really just be watching the BTC pair. If that one can hold support and start to recover, then maybe you get a little bit more positive action here on the USD pair. All right. What else? Oh, that was the other one I was going to look at on the alerts, Ethland, just out of curiosity. Ethland, huh? Interesting. It was showing up on the alerts. So I was like, what's up with that? Let's see what else. Yeah. Quantum power pivot. Interesting. Let's see what else here. Icon, Augur, we covered ETH. VeChain, Vibe's been getting a few. 4 hours ago, 1 day ago, had a few on there. What else? Engine. Let's go look at that one. I forgot about that one. Engine, BTC. Yeah. Looks like it may be finally turning the corner here. Had that spike a few days ago and then pulling right back, making a new higher low. And here it is, confirming, getting above some moving averages. Looking like it's about to break out here. can almost call that a little cup and handle type of pattern showing up. Got this test to resistance, pulled back, high, a little bit of a handle, and this candle here, you know, at the end of the handle, right, it pulls back for 4 candles here, pops on above average volume, doesn't break out. Technically it had a wick, but that's really your signal there if you're trading a cup and handle pattern, right? You're looking for the end of the handle, and that's really your signal. And at that point, you have a very clear stop, right? Break below that, then it's an invalid pattern if that's the pattern you're trading. And so, hey, not too bad. Maybe one to look at for a quick trade here over the next couple of days. And you know, the way I would do this is you could probably do a measured move as far as upside targets. And you could do a move to move trade. And that would basically be here. So you're looking at 4,000 on the upside. Does that line up with anything? It kind of does. It kind of does. Lines up with this back here. And so that may be a pretty good valid target for upside. That's actually going to be really big resistance. So that would, into 4,000 would be my target if it breaks out. So that's what I'd be looking at here. Then above that, who knows? So interesting. Engine. I'm going to have to put that on the watch list. Not that engine. Engine. There you go. All right, I'm going to do 2 more. Then we will call it a day. Let me see. What do I think about the Easy 10X project I want to talk about? I don't know. I don't know. Sorry. Let's see here. Anything that sounds easy and it's going to make you rich really fast is usually a scam. So just saying. EOS, Theta, Tron, Lumens. Jake, I know you're trading Engine. I know you've been trading this. I know some of the Node insiders have been trading this one. And Theta, actually. Yeah, let's go look at Theta. Theta. So here's what I was looking at on Theta. 2 things first. On the daily chart, maybe, this is messy. Let me clear all this up. I mean, it's clearly trying to bounce off of this support level right here, right? That's, call it 2,200, in and around there, 2,200. Hasn't, you know, necessarily turned the corner, but it is, right? It's that downtrend is starting to break, going flat, but it hasn't been able to get above resistance here. So let me clear the downtrend line. And really, this is what I'm looking at, right? This resistance level here, which that would confirm this turning of the corner there. So if we zoom into the 4-hour view, you know, it's been spiking. You could argue maybe a little bit of an inverse head and shoulder type pattern. However you look at it, at the end of the day, if it starts to close above these most recent highs, right, starts to closing in this blue zone here, then you'd be looking at a potential breakout above this resistance at 2620. And so that's what I'm looking at here. Might not be a bad one to keep an eye on for a quick spike. Again, you know, I always like to bet on the ones that are, you know, trending higher, you know, kind of bet on strength. This is a counter trend trade, right? So the bet here is it's done going down and you're looking for some sort of a retracement move, not necessarily looking for a going to go all the way back up to the top. That's probably unrealistic. It could, but that's usually not the way those work. And so you're looking at some sort of counter trend retracement. And for those, the way I do those, I usually will use a fib as a guide and then see if that lines up with some sort of resistance level. And then that's my target. And so if you look at this, the 382 level, which is your first fib level right here, is at 3,200. And it lines up pretty well with this resistance back here. See that? Multiple touches down, 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 broke higher, down, 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 then finally broke lower. And so that'd be the first target on the upside if it breaks out and bounces, right? That's a big if. It's still trending lower, but that'd be the first target on the upside, and then maybe 618, which is right here, and that lines up with this most recent high back here. So, you know, not a bad place to look at it because you have a pretty clear level of support. So if it breaks below that, that's a pretty easy stop, right? It's kind of like, okay, if it breaks below that, maybe it's going to go lower. So I would just get out of the way if it were me. That's how I'd be trading these on the way up. For me, I'm just going to probably wait until it clears 2,600. If it does, then it'll start to look a lot better. Not a bad one, though. All right. And last but not least, and I apologize in advance for not getting to all the other names you guys are requesting, but I will go ahead and do EOS. Looking at EOS from big cap name, one I've been watching here. Let me clear the lines. Still watching, it's been trending higher. Very choppy here the last couple of weeks. I mean, just all over the place here. This is the BTC pair. But I'm still keeping an eye on it for a potential breakout, right? It could set up for a breakout here. On a breakout, though, you want to see some volume. You want to see something like this where it finally pushes through resistance. Some volume comes in. So that's definitely going to be one to be watching here. If it starts to really roll over and price begins to close below the 22 EMA consistently on the daily chart, it's also going to be closing below this support. If it does that, at that point, probably won't look as hot anymore. So it may come off the radar at that point. For now, definitely one to watch. EOS dollar, go Binance, looking pretty good. Looking like maybe a good breakout candidate. Very similar to BTC. Had that pullback, never closed below the 10 EMA, starting to edge higher. Really consolidating here. Let's go to the 4-hour view. I mean, that's a really nice consolidation actually. So that's 555 is kind of the inflection point there, and you've got some rising lows starting to show up here. So yeah, not a bad one here. Not a bad one here. If you do a measured move out of this guy, I bet you that takes it to the top of the most recent swing high. Let's see. Almost. Not quite. The top is 592, 593. So not a bad one here. Definitely one to watch. Looks like it may be setting up for a breakout above 555. Okay. Yeah, so we covered Tezos. I covered a handful. I didn't cover all of them. I'm going to try to keep this stream short. We've been going about 50 minutes now, give or take 45 minutes. If I can remember off the top of my head, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Cardano, Monero, BAT, BNB, Omise Go, Tezos, VeChain, Ripple, Theta, Engine, and a few others. So, all right, guys. Hey, that's going to do it for me today. Thanks for being here as always. Thanks for the likes. Smash the like button. If you have any questions or thoughts on any of the video courses or joining our Slack group, please shoot me a message out on Twitter. Till next time, have a great weekend, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.